rescue, revamp, create. The art of drum synthesis. The new course is available at Letsynthesize Academy.
Yo, Dan Larsen here, welcome to the new Synthesize Sunday episode. You know, Serum is not my favorite tool for drums, but today I want to show you what you can do with that with some advanced synthesis recent thing I made. If you are synthesizing your own drums, click here for my new course on Letsynthesize Academy. But if you just want to grab this project, go to my Patreon, where you can find tons of other really cool stuff. But right now, let's jump into it. Here is this beat once again. And the drums. So all these drum hits coming from Serum is part of my new course, where I shared a bonus pack with 60 Serum drum presets. And there is only one exception, and that is the clang here. So that is the layer for the snare. And it sounds so cool, especially in context. So all the other drum hits are part of the pack. But let me show you what I did for the clang. So as you can see, I had to tune down the clang using a frequency shifter. But it has a metallic color to it, and that is the main part. I used 3 instances of sine waves, where I set up this chain where oscillator B modulates oscillator A, and the sub-oscillator modulates oscillator B. So this is a 3-part chain. You can see the settings here. So I had to play with the semitones to find a sweet spot, and this is actually really cool. Maybe this is even better. And if you keep playing with the FM, you basically play with the harshness of the clang. But you don't need too much of the hardness, you need the metallic clang. So that is very simple, just set an FM from B and then an FM from sub and play around with the pitch. I also had to use an all pass to make it a little more furrier. And also a distortion here and the reverb and some high pass to get rid of the unwanted low frequencies. But an important step is to crank up the mix on the reverb to the maximum. So this is not the best sounds for it, but with a full wet on the reverb, it sounds really cool. So there is another thing I want to show you. So let's start with the kick. I really love this technique, honestly. It's a really noisy kick and I love it. And it is coming simply from the reverb filter. With the reverb filter and the drive, I was able to come up with a really fat sounding kick. Not only noisy, but fat at the same time. I had to use a click for it, for the transient. And envelope 2 controls the pitch drop of the kick. And all these for the effects. So for example, the level, the noise, and some EQ here. So I really love how noisy it is. Now the snare is a pretty straightforward snare, a square wave with the noise, basically, that's it. But the trick here is the EQ, because without that, it sounds really weak. So it is important to boost the frequency using a high pass filter that you want to basically have on the snare. And actually this is really cool because you can simply change the pitch using only the high pass filter. And that is what I did basically here. When the techie part comes, I just used the high pass filter and not the pitch. So as you can see, the pitch is the same, but I just cranked up the frequency on the high pass. And this is actually a really cool technique. I made another instance, well, sort of ghost snares. where basically I did the same. I play with the high pass, so nothing else changed here. But I use an auto filter and the frequency shifter after that, and the drive built in the filter modulation, filter emulation, to create this very heavily distorted, also filtered kind of, well, basically it's a percussion sound from now. And in context it sounds so cool with the other basses. I use another percussion sound. Again, it sounds really cool in context. It sounds like this. It is called extraterrestrial percussion, where I'm just using a noise with some sine waves with a ring modulation. Actually, this could sound so well too. Both of them sound cool. So I use a slide FM with the noise, and I just use some EQing to find a sweet spot for that. Now the ride is a lot more complicated, and like everybody else, learned this technique from AU5 to create this nice ride sound that again sounds so cool in context. Maybe this has a little too much mid-high frequencies. That was intentional to boost those frequencies, honestly, because without that it was just, it didn't cut through the mix well. Maybe it's a little too much. But basically, again, these are sine wave and played with unison voices like crazy, so of course with some FM. And the trick here is in the global tab where the range is set to the maximum, so you can create very intense chaos inside these FM sine waves to create a really cool metallic kind of noise, basically, that you can tweak further with some equalizer, a chorus, and I use a reverb filter also. And finally, the hi-hat, where the technique is the same, it basically just the envelopes are different. So as you can see, there are some really advanced synthesis here behind these sounds that you can learn from the drum synthesis masterclass available on Letsynthesize Academy. Click here if you want to check it. Right, so dig deep into drum synthesis with my new course and grab this project from my Patreon with tons of other really cool stuff. See you guys next time. Peace.